Hi everyone, and welcome to another day of this nice run virtual learning. Hope you're ready. We have to do Wednesdays and Thursdays warm-up. FYI, I will not do Fridays, so just do Fridays and then hand it in. I'm not going to go over that because tomorrow there is not much of anything, and I'll explain that later. So Wednesday's warm-up is, the objective was I can find the area of all 2D shapes, because yesterday I had you practice all 2D shapes. So this warm-up is finding the area of this circle. Round your answer to 2 decimal places. So the formula for the circle is area is equal to pi times radius squared. Area is equal to pi times the radius, hopefully you remember it, is the distance between the center and an edge. So they gave us the radius, that would be 11 squared. Area is equal to, if we were to leave this in terms of pi, we would type in our calculator 11 squared, or you just know 11 times 11 is 121. That's times pi, but because we want it rounded to 2 decimal places, we actually have to do 121 times the pi key, which gives us 380.13, and that's meters squared because it's area. Alright, Thursday's warm-up. Same thing, find the area of the circle. Well, today's objective actually first is I can find the circumference of a circle, and we'll talk about what the word circumference means during the lesson. But the warm-up is still finding the area. So area is equal to pi times r squared. In this case, they did not give you r. They gave you the diameter. So if you remember, the diameter is the whole way across, so to get the radius, you divide the diameter by 2. So 27 divided by 2 gives us 13.5, and that is radius. So we're going to plug in 13.5, so times 13.5 squared. So if my answer was in terms of pi, it would be 182.25 times pi, but let's multiply that by pi, and we get about 572.6. Oh, okay, I see what they did. They probably used 3.14 for pi. So, and if you do 182.25 times 3.14, you do get 572.3. So C would be the answer here. Sorry for the confusion there. Sometimes, because pi is such a tricky number, they tell you to use 3.14. In this case, I cut off the directions. So, all right, let's get to today's lesson. Today's lesson is 8.3, and it's on the circumference of circles. Objective, I can find the circumference of a circle given the radius or the diameter. So let's label this. Right here, that is called the center. The distance from the center to the edge, that we call the radius. And the distance from one edge to the other edge by passing through the center, we call diameter. Alright, so there's 2 ways that we find circumference, because sometimes you're given 2 separate things. So sometimes you're given the radius, and sometimes you're given the diameter. For area, you're required to work with those numbers and figure out what the radius is always. In this case, you have 2 formulas you can use, but just know that you can, this is the most common one, you can use the idea of that the diameter is, or that the radius is 1/2 the diameter to still get your answer. So it doesn't necessarily matter. So as I was talking about this, I realized I didn't attach the reference sheet, so I just attach either of those, and you can use both of them. Alright, so circumference, which we should have labeled on our parts of a circle, is the entire distance around a circle. So it's the entire distance around a circle. It's almost like the perimeter of a circle. It's just called something different. It's called the circumference. For 2D shapes like squares, rectangles, triangles, we call it perimeter to measure the distance around, but circumference is used for circles only. Okay, so let's start with finding the circumference given the radius. So we're going to use the formula C, which stands for circumference, is equal to 2 times pi times r, which stands for radius. The example here gives us a circle with a radius of 4 yards. So just like we would in any other area question, even though this is an area, I should say any other geometry question, C is equal to 2 times pi times r. Circumference is what we're looking for. So 2, pi is a number, and they gave us 4 for r, so we plug in 4. Remember, this is all multiplication. So C is equal to, the directions say to leave in terms of pi. So 2 times 4 gives us 8, and then we'll leave pi in our answer. And this would just be yards. Note it's not yards squared because this is not area, okay? All right, so I'm going to jump to the finding the circumference with the diameter. We would use this formula. And to determine which formula you use, you have to look at the circle or look at the question and figure out what you're given. If you're given the diameter, which we were in this case, we would use this formula. If we're given the radius, we'd use this formula. So C is equal to pi times d. C is equal to pi times, again, we were given the diameter, so we just plug in 11. And C is equal to 11 pi would be our answer, well, inches, would be 11 pi would be our answer in terms of pi. But let's figure out what that is. That gives us about, because they said round to the nearest tenth, 34.6. And that would be inches. Okay, so hopefully you see the difference, and again, this is really important. I hope I'm making it clear enough that if you have to look at the question first, see what you're given. If you're given the radius, always use this formula. If you're given the diameter, then use this formula, which essentially are the same thing. All right, let's try these other 2 examples. We'll try this example where we're rounding to the nearest tenth. So we're given the radius, so we're going to use the radius formula. So C is equal to pi, 2 times pi times r. C is equal to 2 times pi. The radius is 3/8, so times 3/8. C is equal to, and we're rounding to the nearest tenth. But let's do 2 times 3/8 gives us 3/4, so our answer would be 3/4 pi if we were leaving in terms of pi, but we're not. So we're going to get 3/4 times pi, which is very small, 2.4 feet. And last example, we're going to leave this one in terms of pi. You're given the diameter, so you'd use the diameter formula. So C is equal to pi times d. C is equal to pi times 70, and this is very easy because we are done, 70 pi, and that is in centimeters. Okay, I love leaving it in terms of pi. You don't really need much, especially if you know, well, you don't have to multiply anything for this. All right, so little footnote at the bottom, just explaining reminders that the radius is 1/2 the diameter. Diameter is 2 times the radius. Just, I guess, a little bit of a reminder for you. But for this lesson, it doesn't matter because you're given 2 separate formulas. All right, shit quick, so you don't have to memorize. I would like you to please work on this independent practice. You're finding the circumference for all of them. The directions will tell you if you're leaving it in terms of pi or rounding to the nearest tenth. Remember that you're using either C is equal to pi times d or C is equal to 2 times pi times r. If you're given the diameter, use this formula. If you're given the radius, use this formula. Okay, if you want to use this on a separate, if you want to do it on a separate sheet of paper, that's totally fine. Just please send me a picture or attach a picture to the document. That would be ideal. And if you can type in your answer, you can just use the word, type in the word pi if you can't find the symbol on there. Okay? I know it's hard to show work just because of typing pi and whatnot, but do your best. All right, good luck. I miss you all. I hope I see you guys soon, and I hope you're doing well. And I wanted to show you that for the reference sheet, they do give you both formulas. They give you C is equal to pi times d, and C is equal to 2 times pi times r.